Good morning, everybody. Thanks for spending your morning with us. As you know, as we've sort of transitioned in development services, we've talked a lot about customer service, and I think we do an excellent job of customer service. We struggle with it every day when we're very, very busy, and we've got a lot of outside influences that are pushing on us, and it's not always the easiest thing to keep that in the forefront of our minds as we're backed up and we're stacked up and we're moving forward. But I think we do an excellent job of it. As we started talking about customer service even broader, I was talking to Kurt Sharp, and he mentioned the Diamondbacks and FOTC, Find a Way to Say Yes, and how that's worked for them for a really, really long time. And so I thought it would be a great opportunity for us to hear how another organization, a very large organization, handles that on a daily basis, and see if there's some things that we can use and take away from that and incorporate into our daily work schedule. So with that, I'm going to introduce Mayor Lewis, who will introduce our speaker for the day.
You know, introductions are very short when you have a great speaker like this. So, Derrick, it is my pleasure to introduce you to one of the finest teams in Arizona, and they get the job done. I think you are familiar with the fact that Gilbert right now is the fastest growing community in Arizona. And I've already mentioned we have a town manager that has this kind of twisted brain of being a Cardinals fan. And I did slip in that I kind of like the Giants a little bit, but the Diamondbacks come to town. But more important than that, in our community, as we move forward, relationships are so key. And Derrick is one of the great leaders in the community. And we work together on what's called the Greater Phoenix Economic Council, which some of you know very well. And it's just a pleasure to have Derrick here. Back to the Giants, a couple of individuals have heard me say this. So age 12.
He can't help himself.
Yeah, I know. Age 12 I am, and you'll remember Juan Marshall.
Yep.
So age 12, I'm on the mound, and most of the group's not going to be familiar with Juan, but he had this kick. That when he would pitch the kick, I mean, his leg was way up there, and so, of course, I was trying to imitate Juan, and I did the kick as high as I could, and all of a sudden the wind blew me over, and those in the stands had the best laugh. But on behalf of the entire community, when we think of the Diamondbacks and what they've done and the message they bring and the teamwork and then what you'll be teaching us today, this team, another great team in addition to the Diamondbacks, now gives you a great big round of applause. Welcome, please welcome Derrick Hall.
Thank you. Thanks, Mayor. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. And when the mayor and when Kyle had first called us and asked if we would talk about FOTC, which is an acronym that we created, and we'll get into that a little bit in the presentation, and if we would come and speak about it, find a way to say yes, it's sort of difficult to say no to find a way to say yes speeches, so naturally we said yes. There isn't a clicker, so I will bear with me as I get through some of this, and I'll talk about each. I think when I tell this story, and I really don't need to with all of you, but it's usually out of state or at least somewhere far away, so they don't know enough about us or about me, and I usually tell my story first. No need to, other than you need to know, although there's Giants allegiances and Cardinals allegiances, I used to be with the Dodgers, and we do not like the Dodgers anymore. Yes, I heard some boos and oohs. That's good. And right now they're hard charging, and we're gonna fend ourselves and fight them off. We're sure of that. But it's going to be a great race. We know that. I had mentioned in here, every great leader must fail. I don't know if I'd call myself a great leader, but I failed for sure in my career, or trying to reach the status where I'm at now, which was my goal in my career. In fact, I wasn't sure how I was going to get into sports. I knew it was something that I wanted to do, baseball in particular. And when I learned about a sports administration program at the time that was really the only one of its kind, the first of its kind at Ohio University, I figured that's where I'm going to go. So I'm an Arizona State grad, and I decided, yes, go Devils, right? Hopefully the Chief, you like Devils and the D-backs? Good, okay, all right. I went 25 getting here. I obeyed the laws. But I went to Ohio University, and I interviewed, and I thought I did great. And I said, this is it, because they also had an internship program with the Dodgers down in Vero Beach, Florida, where spring training used to be. And went down there, interviewed, thought it went great, as I mentioned, came home, told my wife. I said, we're going to pack up and move to Athens, Ohio, at least for a year and a half, 2 years, and then I'm going to go work for the Dodgers. And about 2 weeks later, I got my rejection letter in the mail. I didn't make it, and figured I'm going to do it on my own, and I don't know how, but I'm going to make it on my own. And I went off to the winter baseball meetings that were in Miami, and I was through part of a career search. And I'm sitting in a room with 300 other people trying to find jobs, and they would walk in every once in a while and post something on the wall, and we're all climbing over each other trying to get it, and it's, assistant groundskeeper for the Mud Hens, and, paying you $500 a year, and I was just so depressed, and I thought, I'm not going to do this, so I left the room with other people wearing equally as bad suits as I was, and we looked awful, we looked desperate, and we were. And I went up to the lobby, and I was about to leave, and I saw on the events taking place that day at the hotel, Ohio University Sports Administration alumni reception, suite 600. I said, that's a party I'm going to crash, and I did. And I went in and went straight up to the director, and I said, I don't know if you remember me. I interviewed, I didn't get it. I think you made a mistake, let me tell you why. And after about an hour, this poor guy said, look, come back. No guarantee you're going to get it, but come back and try again. I did. Fortunately made it. And then out of our class, there were over 5,000 applicants for 25 in the class. And of our class, of the 25, 18 wanted to get into baseball and wanted that Dodger internship. And I said, there's no way they're going to get it. I'm going to get it. And so I did. And so fortunately went down to Vero Beach and got to help put on spring training down there, as well as the single A team, the Vero Beach Dodgers. That was most important for me and really vital in my career, because there's nothing like minor league baseball. And in minor league baseball, you get to know every one of your fans, every one of your season ticket holders by name. You do a little bit of everything. When it rains, and it rains a lot down there in Florida, you're pulling the tarp, you're stocking the shelves in the concession stand. You knew what beer people liked, you knew who liked lemon chill, but it was very important for me in my career to get that start and to be in Vero Beach, Florida. And I always say, if you truly love what you're doing, and you've probably heard that before as well, you'll never work a day in your life, and that's really how I feel. When I took over here as president, and you saw that real quick, we'll get through it so I can talk. Whoops. There was need for change, and there was a lot of change, and it was a tough time to take over as president in 06. First off, the uniform colors, they changed. And as you know, we went from purple and teal to the Sedona red, and it was a tough transition. And even my wife was very angry. Everybody was. And it wasn't just me, but you have to, as president, step forward and say it was your idea. But Major League Baseball for years had been asking us to change our colors. And when you think about customer service and you think about keeping your customers happy, and a lot of our customers, season ticket holders are older demographics, and they really like the colors, and a lot that live in Sun City, and I heard from a lot of them. And I don't blame them. And at games, because the Republic came out with what they thought was going to be our new uniform. They basically took the old uniform, and everything that was purple they just made look red, and it did look awful if that was the way we were going to go, but that's what people thought. They thought, are you crazy? But Major League Baseball forever was saying, there's already purple in the division with the Rockies, and there's no red in your division, and we thought, we don't want to be red, there's so many reds. But then we thought, how good is it, though, that you think about the Sun Devils, you think about the Cardinals, you think about the Coyotes, it's not a bad thing. You look at some of these markets like Pittsburgh, and you can wear your Pirates uniform to a Steelers game, and it still works. But nonetheless, a lot of change. So there was a change with president. There was a change in broadcaster. We let Tom Brenneman go to the Reds so he could work with his father. And then our most popular player, Luis Gonzalez, we were transitioning out. And that was really tough for fans, as you can imagine. But it was a time for us to communicate, a time for us to really talk to our fans and to our season ticket customers and just general fans in general. And we came up with a philosophy of one fan at a time. And the way that works is exactly as it looks. Take each fan, try and win that fan over one fan at a time, because we're a unique fan base. We're very young as a franchise. We're in our 15th year, and we don't have that strong base yet and loyalty, or we didn't at the time. I think we do now. What is happening now, in fact, the Cubs are in town now. We used to draw very well for the Cubs. They're not playing so well, so we're not going to draw so well anymore. We got a Cubs fan back on. And what I used to see is at the Cubs games, you would see Cubs fans wearing Cubs jerseys, holding hands with kids wearing Cubs jerseys. And when I look out now, I see Cubs fans wearing Cubs jerseys, holding hands with kids wearing D-backs jerseys. And it's really happening, and it's changing. But it was very important for us to have one fan at a time, that mentality. So as we're changing the colors, and I'm getting letters and I'm getting emails, and there were a lot. And I'm at games, and on Sundays, I remember, people were holding up signs as I would turn around and say, give us, keep our purple, give us our purple back. And I would take each of them and say, look, I know we aren't allowed to show what the uniforms look like, but why don't we go up to my office real quick and I'll show you. And I would lay out the uniforms, because we weren't allowed to publish it yet, because merchandise reasons, you have to sell what you have currently. And they would look and go, well, they do look good. But so, but if you talk to your customers, take the time to talk and to answer, to respond, to reply. We had one woman who, on the last game of the season, And that was also Gonzo's last game. I'll never forget. And I got introduced on videos. At first, no one even knew me. And so in my office, they came and videotaped me. They wanted me to say, hey, thanks for a great season. And I said, hi, I'm Derrick Hall, new president and CEO. As soon as I said new president, the entire stadium, boo, just killed me. And I understand, again, why? Because there was so much change. But one woman on that day had 2,000 people sign a petition from the upper deck saying, we want our purple, and a lot of it was pretty nasty. It wasn't just, please keep our purple. But this woman, you know, and everybody that called, or everybody that wrote, I took to lunch or breakfast. This woman we brought in, and she came in, and as she's walking in with my assistant, and I've got glass in the front of my office, my assistant looks at me like, uh-oh. And here she came, and she's wearing a purple dress, purple shoes. She's got purple purse, and she is angry. So we go to lunch, and I talk to her, and I explain why we're doing these things. By the end of the lunch, we're hugging, we're best friends. She went to our lunch where we did this runway show, and not only was she wearing Sedona Red, she was spilling Sedona Red wine everywhere. So it's, you know, again, it's very important that you take the time to explain why you're doing things, and you go with that one fan at a time. The Sedona Red is a great story, too, because we have what we call our season ticket roundtables, and we'll bring in season ticket holders each homestand, where we can talk about everything. We want to hear their opinions. We want to give them reasons and justifications for what we do. We'll talk about game time starts, talk about the uniforms, talk about concessions and pricing, et cetera. And so when we're going through the uniform change, I had one person who was so angry, and his name is Bob Elmer, and it ended up being a great story, but a sad one. But Bob really hated the red, and he's in our round table, and we bring in Matt Williams, who's not a coach at the time, to really, you know, show off the uniform. He's like a model, and he's wearing it, and here I am describing it as if I'm actually at a runway show, and you can see that the Sonoran sand with the Sedona Red, and he raises his hand and said, Mr. Hall, enough is enough. Red is red. I'm so sick and tired of hearing Sedona Red. And I said, Bob, you're obviously very upset about it. You betcha I am. And I said, okay. I said, I'll tell you what. Are you ever going to wear a jersey? No, sir, I'm never going to wear that new color. I said, if we win this year, and I buy you a jersey, will you wear it? He said, if you win? He said, yeah, you bet, if you win. Well, we won the division in 07, and so we gave Bob his jersey, and he wore it every day. Sad story about Bob, and I'll tell you about Bob real quick. Bob ended up, unfortunately, he was diagnosed with extreme cancer. He was an extreme case. And Bob was in the hospital near the end, and he called me. And Bob said, I just had a dream, and he said, I was floating over the stadium, and I saw all the green seats. He said, and I flew over one that was red. He said, I got down a little closer, and there was a little plaque on it. He said, it was my seat, and it said, red is red, Bob Elmer. And I said, Bob, you're not going to have to worry about that because you're going to be around a long time. Unfortunately, he passed the next day. And I said, but if you do, we're going to do that. And today we have one red seat, and that is where Bob Elmer is. Southwest Airlines, I usually refer to Southwest Airlines because, and lose the suit. One of my first days on the job, I'm sitting in the seats, and at the Dodgers, we wore suits. And so I came here, and that was still my mentality. That was my culture. So I'm wearing a suit, and I'm sitting in the stands. A lady walks up to me, and she said, Mr. Hall, can I tell you something? I said, sure. She said, you look like an idiot. I said, excuse?
Derrick, can you hold on?
No, Mayor, it's different, though. You're all right. I'll explain. And she said, you know, this is baseball. So you're okay. Yeah, this is baseball. She said, it's 110 degrees outside. You know, you're sitting here in a suit. You're asking us to buy this stuff, but you don't wear it. And I said, great point. You know, and from that day forward, we said no more suits, and we all took them off. We wear the logo. We're proud to wear the logo. And I think about Southwest Airlines because some of, even our partners, some of our airlines that you go on, you look and the flight attendants just seem miserable, and you understand why. You know, they're wearing the scarf and the skirt and the suit jacket, and you know, they just seem a little unhappy. Yet Southwest Airlines, they're also friendly, and you know about their customer service, but look what they're wearing. They're wearing polos, and they're wearing shorts, and they're wearing tennis shoes. Just seems like the right thing to do, especially in that environment, and our environment is sports. So we decided to lose the suit, and there you go. We, and I won't take you through our mission statement. When I took over, we had a mission statement that was outdated. I think frequently we should all revisit our mission statements and make sure that we're on course and on track. And for me, it was really important to focus on the customer and on the fan in our new mission statement. With that, we created values. Core values are people, relationships, integrity, learning, and results. We created what we call our circle of success. And it really did change the attitude of the organization. And our circle of success is our 5 main areas of focus. And everybody's got one of these. Josh, do you have one? All right, supposed to carry them at all times. Good, let's see. Yeah, he does. Our pocket values, and inside is also our circle of success, which we'll walk through, but it's performance on the field, financial efficiency, culture, community, and fan experience. And those are our 5 main areas of focus. But I think we all have to revisit at times our core values and our mission statement to make sure we're still on course, it's up to speed, and it truly is who we are and what we're about. I always tell our employees a couple of different stories because it is about attitude. And you're in the same business. You're dealing with people in the public. A lot of them are often unhappy. If you're going to hear from them, it's because they're unhappy or they have to deal with you on a daily basis. And again, they're unhappy and it gets monotonous. And I understand what you're going through because we go through it too, whether it's our staffing or security or ticket sellers, similar operations. But there are a couple of stories that I thought of. First was, and you may have heard these, there was an individual, a reporter, who went to a construction site. He wanted to see how people thought about their jobs and how the attitudes were. And he went up to the first individual, young person laying bricks, and he said, "Mr. Young Bricklayer, can I ask you what it is you're doing?" And without stopping, the guy says, "Yeah, can't you see I'm laying bricks?" Writes it down, moves on down the line. Goes to a middle-aged bricklayer. "Mr. Middle-aged Bricklayer, can I ask you what you're doing?" He doesn't stop. He says, "Can't you see I'm laying bricks?" Writes it down, moves on down. Now he sees a senior citizen who's working hard, and you can tell he's hot and he's sweating in the sun. He said, "Mr. Senior Citizen Bricklayer, can I ask you what you're doing?" And the gentleman stopped, slowly stood up, took off his cap, wiped his brow, looked at it, looked back, looked again, and said, "Can't you see? We're building a cathedral." And that's the attitude, that's the approach that I want from my employees all the time, especially when they're dealing with the community and when they're dealing with our fans. The other one, Ronald Reagan used to tell this story. It was a fun one. But there were two kids. They're identical twins. One was the eternal optimist, one was the eternal pessimist. And one of the most world-renowned psychologists decided she was going to work with these two. So they take the eternal pessimist first, and they put him in a room full of new toys, shiny new toys from floor to ceiling, and said, "These are all yours." And the kid's excited, and he takes a step forward. Then he stops, and he looks back, and he says, this is terrible. And he starts crying, little kid. And they said, "What's wrong? These are yours." "No, I don't want to touch them. As soon as I do, they're not going to be new. They're going to break. They're not going to be the same anymore." They said, "Oh, boy, we've got trouble with this one." So now they walk outside. They take the eternal optimist and walk him into a room, and it's full of horse manure from floor to ceiling. And the kid looks at first, he's a little disappointed, and then he brightens up and he jumps in the middle, starts throwing it around. Woohoo! They said, "What are you so excited about?" He said, "Don't you see, with all this, there's got to be a pony in here." And so Reagan used to say, and our folks now say, find the pony. It's so important, but it's easy to do. There's our circle of success, which you can now see. We have this displayed throughout our offices. Everybody has one in their office as well, or a cubicle, and it's proudly displayed in our hallways. We reward people, we recognize people for performing around those 5 main areas of focus. I'll give you each one. Financial efficiency was certainly a problem early on. The first 7 years, we were nearly bankrupt. Now, we did win a World Series, and we wouldn't trade that in for anything, but we're still paying for it today. In the first 7 years, we lost $373 million, and we were essentially bankrupt. Major League Baseball was going to close our doors. We were going to be the first team to go bankrupt, and they were extremely concerned about our longevity. I have Bernard Gilkey up there because we used to have deferred salaries, and we have finally, in the last year or two, paid those off. But we had $250 million in deferred salaries to these players. The only player we're still paying today is Bernard Gilkey, and actually, Randy Johnson was the last one that we were paying off before Bernard Gilkey. Now he's paid off. And Randy Johnson, by the way, when we had the uniform changes, our players couldn't stand the old uniforms. You know, they didn't like that they had the vests and the purple shirts, and it didn't really match on TV. The purple looked like blue, and the purple belts. The only one that liked it was Randy. And I always tell people, remember, but he also had, the mullet. So the days of the $150 million payroll are gone. I mean, we can't operate that way. That's not who we are as a market. We certainly know that. We know our place. We're going to have to scout properly, develop properly, and start to control our players through free agency years and certainly through their arbitration years. That's our model. And we know it works, and we know we can do that. But we used to be able to just sign the paychecks and want to pay later. We can't do that, and we certainly know we can't. We do have revenues now that are over $165 million, which is good. And as we continue to increase revenues, all that money will go back into the field. There's new areas of revenue. Our biggest opportunity is obviously ticket sales. I mean, you can see it. We don't sell out every game. We have a building that's probably too big. People are now building stadiums at 38 to 42,000 seats, and we're 50,000. It's very large. But we have a new TV deal that's coming up soon that could really help us. It could be 3x where we're at now. All that money, again, we're going to put back into the franchise and back into the team. Performance on the field, a lot has changed over the years, and again, it goes back to the new philosophy of what we're going to do. We knew just as we changed our culture in the front office, we also had to change our culture down on the field and in the clubhouse. And for a while, it was the inmates running the asylum. We had a lot of egos, a lot of people playing for the name on the back of their jersey. We don't want that. We want a group of guys that really care about the community. They care about you as fans. And we've got that right now. We have 25 guys on that roster that are so good. They're such good guys. They're great family guys. They spend time at the hospitals. We'll get into that, but they sign autographs for you and take pictures for you. That's who we want. But we also want a team where on opening day, you know what that lineup's going to look like for the most part, because we do have a lot of homegrown talent, players that you can be proud of. And as these pitchers are starting to come up, you see Patrick Corbin, Tyler Skaggs will be coming up soon. Wade Miley was one of our homegrown. Archie Bradley, who was a first-round pick, will be coming up soon. He's going to be a #1. Gives you a point of pride, too, players that you know. And I put buy a jersey. We want to make sure if you're going to go buy a jersey at the beginning of the season, you don't have to worry about that player being gone. We could fast forward to Upton, but there's lots of reasons why we had to do that. And it's actually working out very well for us with the players that we got back in return. It's tough to lose a good player like that. And again, there's the scout, develop, and retain. And by the way, if you have any questions in between, ask me. I know we're buzzing through it so we can save time for questions right now. Community is, to me, it's our sweet spot. To me, what's most important part of #1 is culture, and I'll get into that. But to me, community is very important because regardless of how we're playing, we're not going to win every season. We're not going to win every game. We want you to feel good about our organization. We understand our social responsibility. We want to give back to the community. I had mentioned when we talk to the players, the first speech of spring training, we go out and we talk, and the manager will tell the players what his expectations are. The general manager will do the same. And I talk about what my expectations are of them off the field for the most part, and that I expect them to go to the hospitals and go visit kids, to go to schools, not because there's a camera behind them, but because it's the right thing to do. Take time to sign autographs. Take time to take pictures with our fans. Very important for us. And when you talk about community, it's got to be everybody. It's got to be our front office. It's got to be our players. It's got to be our coaching staff in giving back. We're doing it in so many ways now. Just this past year, we passed $33 million in giving. And in so many different ways. And I don't want to bore you with all the details, but I'm really proud of all that we're accomplishing in the community. And then we're able to do even more. We're giving about $3 to $4 million away each year. We give away grants and Grand Slams. Grand Slam awards are $100,000 plus. Grants, we give away anywhere from $75,000 to $100,000 a year. We don't turn down many, that's for sure, nor do we want to. We have a field building program. We have now 30 baseball fields throughout the state of Arizona as part of our Diamondbacks field building program. Evening on the Diamond is a big gala that we have each year. Right before the start of the season, we have it actually on the field. Evening on the Diamond, tables in the infield. We have big bands or big acts that we have. That's really where we raise most of our money. This year we grossed $1.8 million. We're then able to give all that money back through our foundation to the community. We give more than all the local sports teams combined, and we're very proud of that. The commitment is only going to grow. When we're able to do things with our fans too, for example, the horrible tragedy in Yarnell, I'm really proud of our team because we challenged ourselves to make sure we had the best initiatives in place as soon as we got back from that East Coast road trip to make an impact because we know we can. And our fans are asking, how can we give back? And they did it with us. And we were able to date, to raise over $700,000 that we give back to those communities that need it and to those individuals that were unfortunately impacted by that tragedy. So I'm very proud of our efforts in the community. Transitions a little bit into some of the things that we do with our fans as well. I put on here, may I have a hug? And this story, back in 2007, back to that season when we won and we weren't supposed to, the Bob Elmer year, we did some things at the end of the year, and it tells you about the heart of our owner and our ownership in general. I got a phone call. We had about 25, 30 games left, and he called me. We were on the road. I'll never forget. I was in Atlanta, and he said, have we hit our goals, our projections? And I said, yeah, we're right on track. We've actually hit it. And he said, okay, what can we do for the community? That was the first question. I said, Ken, we're already going to give about $2.5 million. He said, let's do more. And I said, okay, let me think about it. I got back to him. I said, hey, we've got 20 home games left. I said, for those 20 games, what if we give, for every ticket sold now, a certain amount of money back to children's charities? He said, great idea. How much? I said, how about $1? He said, how about 5? I said, well, we have $5 seats upstairs. He said, make it 5. So in addition to what we were already doing, we had another $750,000 that we gave away that year. In addition to that, with the last 15 home games, some of you are probably season ticket holders and remember, we gave $150 in food vouchers back to all of our season ticket holders and said, spend it how you want. Whether you want to spend $10 a game, $150 all at once, we just want to thank you because we have so many new fans coming in because now they're excited about the season. And a few were What's the catch? Well, there wasn't any catch. We just wanted them to know that we appreciated them. Well, I had one woman come up to me during the game, and she said, Mr. Hall, can I give you a hug? And she's crying. And I said, sure. And usually they cry after they hug me, not before. But I hugged her and said, what's the matter? And she said, you know, my husband just left, my son and I. He just took our car, took our season tickets, took everything away from us. We have nothing. And that was our outlet. We had 2 tickets. My son and I would go to games. He's about to go to college. And she said, I just want to thank you for the food vouchers. And I said, well, you're still coming here. You said that he had taken your ticket. She said he did. She said, but one of our season ticket holders, Terry Lambert, wonderful lady, heard our story, bought us season tickets for the rest of the year. She comes and picks us up, takes us to the game, takes us back home afterwards. And I thought, wow, you know, really 2 things. How remarkable are our season ticket holders, and why aren't we doing that? Because we, again, don't sell out every game. So we started our first of its kind season ticket holder scholarship program, where now we've got families. We have over 200 that we give free season tickets to, lower level, including food when they need it, parking, and it's been a wonderful program. But I always encourage our employees to be pioneering, to come up with new ideas. And that is really part of our culture. I always say the customer does not come first, and people are confused. I say the employee comes first, because if the employee feels recognized, appreciated, promoted, developed, he or she will in turn then treat the customers the way that we expect them to be treated, and it's really worked. And so that culture at the Diamondbacks, we want it to be about family. We want people to enjoy going. We have very long seasons. We have very long days, just like you do. We have the longest season. You know, we have 162 games. That's 81 home games. For those home games like today, we have people that get in at 7:30 or 8 o'clock in the morning. They don't get home till 11 or midnight. You know, and that's every day. Trying to keep a smile on their faces is tough. You know, a lot of our game day staff, these people are fans, you know, just like you and I. And it's tough to be out there handing out bobbleheads in 115 degrees and then have to come in and be your usher and still have a smile on their face, especially if we're losing 10-0. But they find a way to do it. And it's really part of that culture that we've created. Some of the things we do culturally, and this is a goal of ours, is to treat our employees, our fans, our players better than any team in sports. And I think we have done that over the last several years. And people come and they work for us. And when they leave, they immediately contact us and say, I didn't know how good we had it. We've had a lot of people that have left and have come back. Fortunately, we've been able to bring them back because it has been so good. You're going to test it at times. You all went through it when we had the economy in a downturn a few years ago. You know, we had to downsize, and we had to eliminate 40 jobs at the time. And that was really tough. And for me, where we had built it, where we built this family feel, how we cared about everybody. I mean, I can tell you, I sat up at night, you know, crying with my wife because these people were family members that we were going to have to let go. And I thought it was going to hurt our culture, and you test it at times. But in reality, if you make the right decisions, as tough as they are, and you don't show favoritism and you're very objective about it, it actually improves your culture, because afterwards, I think our employees, not only were they fortunate to still be there, but they respected the decisions we made, and it made us even closer. So at times you're going to be tested, but if that culture is true and pure, it's going to be fine. Some of the things we do, we have a President's Council. It's made up of our Employees of the Month. We never had Employees of the Month program before. Now we do, and it's based on our circle of success. So you're nominated by your colleagues, by your coworkers. The President's Council actually decides who's coming on for the Employee of the Month the next month, and they also make decisions on culture. So we'll get to some of those, but in each of our President's Council meetings, we bring up culture ideas. That's an example of our President's culture with Jay Leno. Each year, the President's Council gets to go on a trip, and we get a custom bus, and we load it with adult food and beverage. Well, I don't know what adult food is, but we have adult beverage, and we have a good time. And we go over. We usually go to Disneyland, or we'll go somewhere similar, so that you can see again customer service. Work hard, play hard. But I always talk about Disneyland, and I'll get back to it. But the popcorn, I always say, now when we walk in, I want you to watch. Sometimes we'll buy popcorn to show them, but I say you could drop popcorn, and out of nowhere, some little guy in a white suit's going to come over and sweep it up and be gone. I said, just watch. It always happens. And sure enough, it does happen. I'll get back to that because I always pound that home as much as I can. But President's Council is great because now it's become competitive because people want to go. They want to go on that trip. And it's a lot of fun. It's a blast for everybody. Some of the other ideas that we have, and I'll speed through these. President's Roundtable, much like the season ticket roundtable, once a month we bring in 12 to 15 randomly selected employees. They can come in and bring up any questions they have. I'm going to answer everything honestly. It could even be about finances. We have to open up the book. We want to be open book with them. And so again, that communication is very important, and transparency. Quarterly outings, our President's Council decide what the quarterly outings are going to be. But we have, naturally each quarter, we have all employee mandatory outing. First one we ever did was golf, and we had people say, I don't golf. And I said, it doesn't matter. You're going to go out there, you're going to golf with 3 other people you probably don't even know that well. At the end of the golf, we're going to bring everybody back. We're going to bring your family in to have a barbecue. It's been a lot of fun. We have softball in the field. We set up 3 different fields for one of our outings. What was great, and again, back to our mission and back to who we are when it comes to community, was in one of our meetings, we had one of our president's council members say, why don't we do something for the community? We thought, how great was that? You know, while others are going, how about laser tag? How about go-kart racing? And so we loaded up 4 buses, went to St. Mary's Food Bank, and we worked for a day. And it was I'll never forget, it was a day that the swamp cooler was out. It was after the monsoons the night before. It was miserable, but we loved it, you know, and what a sense of togetherness and teamwork and camaraderie. Again, part of the culture of who we are. We want to be a family. Some other initiatives that we have. We used to have our all-employee meetings where I'd get up and speak like this, and everybody fall asleep like some of you are, and you should be. But we decided we're going to change things, and we're going to do it differently. We're going to do it like a late-night show, a talk show. And so we call it On the Couch with D. Hall. I didn't come up with that. My HR staff did. And that's actually a stage. There's the great Roland Heeman, who's in the Hall of Fame. But, you know, we've got a chair and a couch and a stage, and I'll get up, and my monologue is what I want to share with all of my employees. My first guest is our Employee of the Month. And we'll bring up the outgoing member of the President's Council to speak as well on the couch. We'll have a featured guest. It could be the commissioner, it could be the mayor, it could be the governor. We've had all of those in the past. And it's just a different way of doing it. We have free lunch for everybody afterwards. We used to have a musical act where each month I would pick a different department out of the hat, and they would have to come up for the next meeting with an original song and dance and choreography based on their department and the organization. These things got so good, I started to believe they weren't working. So we changed that, and now we're doing game shows, which is a lot of fun as well. So we'll do Family Feud between departments or games that we created, and it's just it's a really fun environment once a month, and it's on the first Friday. Some of our other initiatives, there we go, as they fly in. Again, I mentioned we want to encourage people to be pioneers. We tell them all the time, let's be industry leaders in what we do. There's nothing more rewarding than getting a phone call from another team saying, how do you do your season ticket scholarship program? You know, how do you do your MVP awards? Well, we used to do a B2B summit with our corporate partners, and we'd get together and they would sit in the audience and have to listen to panel discussion or Q&As. We changed that. Now we do an MVP award, which is like the Academy Awards. And so unfortunately, I'm the Billy Crystal, so I have to get up and sing and dance to open it up. But we actually have categories, and we have nominees, and it's been huge for us. And it's been different, and it's gotten a lot of national attention where other teams will now call and say, how'd you do that? Digital D-backs was something we started where when you come into the ballpark, because we have to make it advantageous for you to come to the ballpark and not just watch at home. And what's the difference? Well, you can now come in, and on your handheld or on your tablet, you log in with free Wi-Fi because we set up 330 access points of AT&T Wi-Fi. You log in, you can find out information about Chase Field. You can now order food from your seat. You go pick it up. They'll alert you when it's ready in your own little line. You can watch replays. You can see stats. You can get bios that you can't get at home. Well, that works so well that MLB now does it. It's an app. Now it's an app for every team, and it's in the ballpark, or at the ballpark. We do little things because we want our employees to be fans and really follow our games. So after a sweep, we draw a name out of a hat, and they get maid service for a month. Like sweep the house. After shutouts, we have donuts. After sellouts, we have cookies. They were starting to get little caloric. So 4 in a row, we do smoothies. So we got a little healthier there. Bagel Wednesday seems so simple, but we bring in bagels. And the beauty of that is we move them around in different departments. So we'll alert people the day before, come get bagels in engineering tomorrow, come get bagels in HR tomorrow. If we ever took away Bagel Wednesday, it would be anarchy. Everybody go nuts. So open door policy, very important to me, that you can just walk right into my office. You can walk into Josh's office, anybody's. I don't believe in silos. I don't believe in hierarchy. I want everybody to treat our engineers or the people that are cleaning the stadium just as importantly and just as nicely as they do a vice president. We have arrival parties. I don't believe in going away parties. If someone has decided to leave the organization, we really don't want to throw a party for that unless they're retiring. But if someone's leaving to go accept another job or another industry, thank you for your time, goodbye. But we have arrival parties. You know, you're coming to work for a great organization. Come on in, we'll celebrate, and we'll party with you, and hopefully you stay there for a career. We have a health fair where we actually will set up different stations and stands, and that day our employees can get everything taken care of, whether it's cholesterol or any sort of testing in eye and ear. We're looking at bringing on either a full-time physician or at least a concierge to work for us so that People don't have to leave the building. They can get prescriptions, whatever they need right there at the office. We're trying to make it as convenient as possible. After the All-Star game, we ended up giving all of our employees the All-Star ring that the players get. No other team has ever done that hosted the All-Star game. We threw a big party for all of our employees because I think we put on the best All-Star game in 2011 that's ever been put on. We were so proud of it. Put us on that international stage. MLB was worried about us hosting. They thought we weren't going to sell out. They thought it was going to be too hot. Not only did we sell out, the weather was actually really good that week, so they were looking out for us, the baseball gods. And we wanted our employees really to know how much we appreciated the hard work, in addition to as hard as they work all year long anyways. And then our holiday parties, I think, is for us, and we give a lot of time off during the holidays too. I shut down for 2 weeks just before Christmas and until after New Year's because, again, our seasons are so long. And I want everybody just to go home, not work, recharge their batteries. We're even thinking about finding people per email just so that they don't do it. And when they come back, it's just like they're ready for spring training. They're energized. And our holiday party is huge. Right before we all take time off, we spend a little extra money to make sure that we have good musical acts or that we have magicians or that we have the hypnotist and throw a real nice party where spouse or guest can come as well. There he is. That's the MVP Awards. We... very proud of our awards. I wanted to show you this one first, and then I'll get to it. You can see on the bottom, Positive Peace, and it's United Nations NGO. I received a phone call, and I'll just put up all of ours, but received a phone call from the United Nations a few years back, and my assistant tells me they're on the phone. I thought, uh-oh, what do we do in the Dominican? What do we do wrong? And picked up the phone, and this gentleman introduced himself, and he said, we are now giving away these Positive Peace Awards, and we have different categories. We've always given one for company, and I think Hallmark Cards had won that year. Now they were going to expand. They were going to have one for sports, and they were going to have one for entertainment. And he said, we just keep coming back to the Arizona Diamondbacks. He said, we have thousands of people doing their due diligence. We're looking at premier soccer teams. We're looking at NFL teams, NBA teams. We keep coming back to you and all you're doing in the community. I said, well, thank you. I'm a little biased, but I think you're right on. And he said, do you mind if we come and interview you? No problem. So we spent half an hour to an hour with the guy. He called back a few months later and said, well, you're a finalist. You're one of 5 finalists. And I was honored by that. And he called back right before the New Year's and said, you've been selected. You're the first ever most positive sports team in the world. So I couldn't have been more proud of that. We just continue to get awards, but it's because of our employees, and it's because of how much they care. And when you win Best Places to Work, 6, 7 years in a row, that's the employees that are saying this is the best place to work. It's not me, it's them, and it's because of what they've created and what our leadership has created there as well. FOTC, here's where we go from our culture to FOTC. And back in 2007, again, when we were making the playoffs and when fans were starting to come in and grow, just big fans in droves. We had so many fans coming in for the first time, and I decided to bring in all of our game day staff early. And so they come in early, and they're standing around in this banquet room, and they're wondering what we're doing. And I got up and I said, listen, I got up on a little stage that they put up there for me. I said, this is it. This is our time to capture new fans and to really show off and treat them well, and we're going to do that. They're going to want to keep coming back. They're coming to see this team for the first time because they're winning, but because of you and the way you're going to treat them, they're all going to keep coming back. And I'm being real rah-rah, and I'm all happy. And I said, by the way, when you walk out of here, you're going to go pick up one of those buttons that say FOTC, and that's find a way to say yes. And you're going to put it on your shirt, and we're going to find a way to say yes to everything. And I said, any questions? And Bob raised his hand. For some reason, everybody that works there is Bob. For those of you that go, you know that. And it used to be called the Bob, too. So Bob raised his hand. I said, yeah, Bob. And he said, well, come on. He said, what if people want to get autographs during BP and they're standing behind the dugout? And I said, well, why don't we let them? We should. I certainly remember that as a kid. You guys probably remember that as a kid. And if it's someone else's seat, we'll ask them just to sit over here at the time being, and then we'll clean it up right before, as soon as they wheel away the cage, and we'll let them go back. Any other question? Yes, Bob. Another Bob. He said, what if someone wants to sit in a seat that's not theirs? It happens all the time. You know that. I said, well, there's a way to say yes, even though you're saying no, but it sounds like yes. You can say, I agree, it's a great seat. It's probably somebody else's. Why don't you come back in the 6th inning? If nobody's there, you can sit there. You said yes. You still found a way to say yes. And I said, oh, and by the way, I said, from now on, when someone hits a home run, I want you to be fans. You can dance around. You can, go around and high-five people. And Nancy, in her wheelchair, raised her hand. I knew that was coming. She said, how am I going to dance? And I said, well, Nancy, I said, you just raised your hand. Do that, too. And she did. And it was fun the first, when a home run was hit, and I kind of turned around, I see some of our ushers stand there. They see me looking there. Hey, ho, tried to move around. But we are not the ones who pour the Pepsis. We're not the ones tearing the tickets. So we can all talk about customer service and FOTC all we want. We have to make sure they're doing it. And so they have to feel like a part of it as well. They can't just come in on a bus, get off, as I said, sit out in the heat, do their job, and expect them to be very happy. So what we did is we started to take care of them as well. And so our game day staff, a few things that we've done, we started an Employee of the Month program for them as well in all service areas: security, team shop employees, ISS, who clean the building, Levy, who are our concessionaire. And that's become very competitive as well, because if they win, they get an engraved bat, Louisville Slugger bat. They get introduced on the field with one of the players, take a photo with that player. We started an A-game all-star program where we had these little cards made up. And I said, if you ever see one of our ushers doing something well, treating our fans well, go up and give them one of those. And I gave them to all of our VPs, and I said, give them to them. They get to fill it out on the back. They then go in and give it to their supervisor. They're in a drawing then for electronics, for trips, for memorabilia. It's been great, although I realized we weren't doing it the right way, because they were just trying to make us happy. So we give them to our season ticket holders now, who get to use them, and give them to their ushers or anybody that does a nice job. We now set up a meet and greet with the players. We had never done that before. Again, I asked all the game day staff to come in early on a Sunday. They wondered why. We lined them all up out on the warning track. There was no BP. They probably thought it was a firing squad. And we brought out the players and the coaches who, one by one, shook their hands and thanked them for what they do every day. And we, of course, had talked to the players and said, look, these people are so important to us. This is our game day staff. They set the tone, and our players embraced it. And now we do it every single year. And you can imagine those employees, those game day staff members after that, who went back to their fans in their section and said, oh, I met so-and-so today. What a nice young man. And I met this young man. And look at the picture I took. It's worked out very well. We have accessibility is very important. It goes back to that one fan at a time. That's part of customer service. I want them to have access to my email. I want them to text me, fans, during the game. I'll get an email because they'll try D. Hall, D-backs, Derrick H., and it gets to me. And it says, Mr. Hall, it's a little warm up here in 303. And I'll write back, thanks for letting me know. We're going to send an engineer right away and take care of it. Oh, thanks, really? And about 5 minutes later, 10 minutes later, thank you, it's better. I mean, how easy is that, though, for us to do? And so we don't leave an email, a voicemail, a text unanswered. Very important. We try not to. Some of us, get so many, we may miss a few, but we try not to. That's very important. The accessibility. We want fans to know we're listening to them. We hear them. I often like to go up and thank every one of our ushers for the job they're doing and for treating our fans so well. And one day I go up there, and it's during batting practice, and the roof's open, and the weather sort of changes. It was one of those haboob-like days. And the wind's picking up, it's getting a little gray, and there's hot dog wrappers swirling around, and this guy walking towards me, hey, Mr. Hall. I said, yes, sir. He said, don't you think you should close the roof? And I said, well, come on. I said, in Pittsburgh, it's probably windy right now like this. I said, Atlanta, it may be raining a little bit. And he said, yeah, but in Pittsburgh, if they had a roof, don't you think they'd be smart enough to shut it? I said, yeah, well, you're right. We did. We closed the roof. But again, the accessibility is so important for us. And then just treating our employees like family. I had a security guard, Ray Coda, wonderful guy. One day he comes to my office, and he just pops in. He says, hey, boss. I said, hey, Ray. He said, I'd like to cook for you. Okay, Ray. And he walked on. I looked at my assistant. What? She said, I don't know. So time passed, and one of my friends who works for one of our power companies called me up, and he said, hey, you like tamales? I said, oh, I love tamales. And it was around holiday time. He said, I'm going to bring you some that my mom made. I said, great. So he brings me a big old bag, and we're passing them out in the hallway, and people take them home, and everybody's loving these tamales. So I call him back up, and I said, hey, Victor. I said, what, your mother makes these? He said, no. He said, your security guard, Ray, makes them. I figured if I told you that, you wouldn't eat them. I said, what? I said, I would have eaten them. So anyway, we call Ray. We said, Ray, come up. So Ray comes up to my office. I said, Ray, tell me about these tamales. And he said, boss, he said, my mother and father used to make them. He said, they're no longer with us. And he said, it's my goal, my dream in life to be able to serve these to our fans and to be able to carry on their tradition. And he said, so I'm saving up. And I said, Ray, that's enough. We'll do it for you. So we paid for all of his equipment. We paid for his business license, his insurance, everything. And today, Ray sells tamales in section 134 at the ballpark. So wonderful story. This gentleman right here, we ended up changing our programs. We used to sell programs, you may remember, for $3, then $5. We thought, that's crazy. We want our fans to read this. This is information that we're creating, that we're writing about our organization and our players, so we want to give it away for free. And how great is that for our advertisers, too, where now they're going to have a 2 million subscription rather than just a couple thousand or 20,000 for the season. And this gentleman was outside one day. I went outside to go do opening day interview on the radio. And I'll never forget that interview because they asked me, they said, you're always talking about the D-backs, and you love the D-backs, and Stoner Red, this and that. Who do you hate worse? Giants, Dodgers, Rockies, or Padres? And I said, hate is such a strong word, all of them. But he comes up to me out in the plaza and he says, "Oh, I just want to thank you. It was so great working for you. You know, boy, you know, it is family. You really do treat everybody well." I said, "Jimmy, what do you mean? You don't work for us?" He said, "Well, we don't sell the magazine anymore. I used to sell the magazine." He said, "Now I'm across the street on the corner and I'm selling a rival magazine." I said, No. Don't you want to work for us?" "Oh, I love to work." Well, he greets people in the rotunda now, so we just brought him back. But again, treating people like family, they're going to treat your fans the right way as well. And then last, fan experience. That's the last point in our circle of success. And we have another saying, not only find a way to say yes, but find a way to win even when you lose. And that's very challenging for us, because how do you lose a game 1-0? You know, they score in the top of the ninth and you don't score in the bottom of the ninth, or you blow a save. We've done a lot of that this year. And you want fans to walk away and say, "That was great. I can't wait to come back." And there's no better picture of, you know, a child asleep on dad's shoulder walking out after a win. But you're not always going to win those games, every game, but you want them to come back. So I always say, let's find a way to win even when we lose. We've created destinations throughout our ballpark. So, you know, if you want to have a little more fun, you're single, you can go to the Diamond Club. If you really like to eat, we've got the all-you-can-eat section. If you want to take your kids up to the Sandlot, what we've created up there now, where we have, you know, a mini chase field, replica field up there, and we have people in uniform throwing wiffle balls to kids, giving instruction. We have a batting cage behind that. We have forts and slides. Allow fans and parents to stand up there and not miss any of the action during the game. Sign-making stations, the entertainment crew. Ticket value pricing was very important to us. And again, going back to customer service, what's important to our customers? Pricing to us. We're the most affordable ticket in all of baseball. We have been for 7 straight years. And although we, you know, have to increase now and then, I would rather keep it flat. We just can't, because we have to increase revenues. But where the average ticket price in baseball is nearly $30, ours is under $15. Extremely proud of that. We created value pricing. I walked through the team shop a few years back and realized you couldn't buy a baseball cap for under $28. Yet we want you to wear this stuff. I mean, you look great wearing it. So we created value pricing. And now when you go in there, you can get a cap, you can get a T-shirt for under $10. You can get a polo for $25, not the $60 or $75. We have value pricing throughout the ballpark, where if you want to get the most affordable beer in baseball, in all of baseball, $4 14-ounce beer, you can. Kids pricing, concession pricing, every game, $1.50. Hot dog, corn dog, popcorn, soda, milk. We let people bring in their own food and bring in their own water. We're not going to try and gouge you. And that, again, goes back to customer service, but it's also a huge part of fan experience, and I think they go hand in hand. What's important to us when we're at those round tables is to talk to fans about, you know, what we show on our high-definition video board, which was the largest in all of baseball when we first built it. Extremely proud of that. Those of you that have been to games probably enjoy watching our DBTV, and our creative crew is so good at what they do. Start times. We love our start times. The most popular one is our Saturday, our 5 o'clock start time. We used to have 6:40, 7 o'clock, and you know, your Saturday night was ruined by the time you got out of there at 10 or 11 o'clock at night, and we expected you to come back the next day for a 1 o'clock game at 11 or 12. So the 5 o'clock start times have been tremendous. There are times we have to start at 7 because Major League Baseball has a TV window where no one's allowed to start before 7 o'clock, unfortunately, but now we're back into our 5:10 starts. And our 6:40s are great. I can remember when I started with the Dodgers, who we don't like. When I started with the Dodgers, we had 8 o'clock start times. I mean, can you imagine that? I was getting out of there at 1 o'clock in the morning to go home, and fans were done at 11 o'clock. That's why they started coming late and leaving early, and they still haven't stopped doing that. Fireworks, every Friday night. We never had fireworks. Now we have fireworks on post games Friday nights, and if you were there for the July 5th, anytime we have 4th of July or the next game that we have, which in this case was July 5th, best fireworks show you'll ever see. It's tremendous. Concerts are coming back next year, post-game concerts. We're excited about bringing those back. Just, that's who we are. And when I walk through our hallways, and even going down to the seats, we used to have pictures of our players, which is good. Action shots. But I thought, that's not our culture, and we're all one family. The players no longer think it's those guys or it's those guys in the suits. Maybe you're right. But now it's one. We're all one team. And so when you walk down our hallway now, you see an action shot, then you see an employee, you know, whistling while they work. Smiles on the walls, I call it. And then last, I put Disneyland popcorn again because it actually happened. I come in one day on a Saturday, and I know I'm just about done, we're going to wrap up, but I come in on a Saturday, and it's a Fox game, so it's early, and I come in my office, I've got glass from floor to ceiling that looks down on the concourse, and that's great for me because I can see the flow of traffic, I can see what people are wearing, and I look down, and it happens. Someone drops popcorn, and out of nowhere, our people come over and sweep it up, and I went, ugh! So I run over to my computer, and I hit my director of stadium operations, my VP. I said, it just happened. Someone dropped popcorn. They came over, swept it up. This is great. And I'm waiting. About 20 seconds later, he wrote me back, yeah, we staged it. But, but at least they get it. They're thinking about it. And someone actually, because I tell that story, someone actually tried it on us, and they were up at the Diamond Club, and they dropped the popcorn down on the concourse, and it got swept up within about 30 seconds. So because I told that story, someone tested it, they videotaped it, and then they put it on the web. And so, whew, thank goodness we did it that time. Again, how I say, you'll never work a day if you truly love what you're doing. Go find a pony, build a cathedral. And then last, I put this up. This is from a few years ago. My daughter. She's now 12, but at the time I think she was either 5 or 6. She stayed home from school. She wasn't feeling well, and she started watching the Brady Bunch, which I loved the Brady Bunch when I was a kid, but I don't know where she found it, on TV Land or something. But it was the one where Marcia tried to sneak out of the house to go nominate her father for Father of the Year. So she wanted to do that. So my daughter writes this, puts it in an envelope, takes it to my wife and says, "Can you just go mail this?" There was nothing on the outside. So she opened it up. She came and brought it to me with a little tear in her eye, but says, "Whoever reads this letter, my dad is the best dad in the world. He has a great job and he works so hard. If he ever lost his job, I'd get him a better one. Also, if he has a meeting, MEADING, he'd miss it for my soccer game. He's the best dad ever. Love, Kylie." And this is just a reminder to me, again, of why we're doing what we're doing. Family comes first. And since we work so hard, we spend so much time at work each and every day, and we're trying to make it a great environment. Remember that your coworkers are your family too. This is your extended family. Make it about that. I absolutely love and adore each and every one of our employees. We are a family. They're a family to my family, and that's why our culture has just been so special of late. So, thank you. You want to? Questions or? Okay.
Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Hall? Yes, Melanie.
I'm just curious, how many full-time employees do you have?
We have about 330 full-time, and with part-time, including scouts and game day staff, we're about 3,000 internationally, but yeah, about 330 full-time. Anybody else? Baseball questions, anything?
I do not own a Diamondback shirt. Do you have one?
Josh? I don't, but I'll tell you what I usually do, and I have to restock. In the back of my car, in my trunk, I usually have a box of baseball caps. And if I see someone wearing a Giants cap, or if I see someone wearing the old colors, I'll just give them a new one. And the other thing that I like to do when I'm in a restaurant and I see a family wearing D-backs gear, I'll just call over a server and say, "Let me take care of their check," and I don't say anything and just leave. But I love seeing people wear it, is my point. Yeah, thank you. And now you can buy it affordably at our team shop. Yes.
Can you tell us a little bit about your team Corey Hunt?
For those of you that don't know the story, Corey Hahn was a standout high school baseball player out of California. He was named Mr. California, Mr. Baseball in California. He was recruited by ASU, decided to go to ASU, turned down a draft position with the San Diego Padres, went to ASU, and in his second game, sliding in headfirst to second base, he suffered a fracture to his spine, and he was paralyzed. And this year, Corey wore number 34. This year was his first year that he was eligible as a junior for the draft, and our organization decided to draft him with a 34th pick. And obviously there were several talented players at that time, but we thought it was more important, more of who we are, and more important for Corey to be drafted. And he was thrilled. I get chills thinking about it, but we also made him a promise that when he graduates, he can come work for us. So Corey's going to work in our organization, and very smart kid, bright kid, loves baseball. It was always his passion to be a major league player. That won't happen, but he'll be with a major league team nonetheless. Thank you. It's good the camera's got the back of your head there. She said any job openings for my friends. You could always look online. Yes, we always do have teamwork online.
Mr. Hall, I'd like to take a moment to commend you and the organization for finding a way to say yes to helping Mark Grace after the problems that he had recently with personal life.
Thank you. Yeah, to me, Mark Grace is an important part of our family and our history. Obviously, with what happened, we had to take him off the air, and we had a lot of upset people. Not only that, unfortunately, twice he had been convicted, but people were upset that we were going to retain him, and I just thought it was the right thing. We couldn't turn our back on him at that time, and he's now coaching, and he's doing a great job, and hopefully he'll flourish in that role. I actually think he'll be a better coach than even a broadcaster, and he did a great job as a broadcaster. But Grace, he's a good man, and I think he's learned his lesson. Yeah, thank you.
Question up
Yeah,
There's a guy,
Sean.
just all the kids, Carruthers.
Yeah, there's two. One of them is Sean Payton, and then Carruthers is the other. Yeah.
Well, Carruthers, is there a story with that guy? He just seems like such a good guy.
He's a great guy. They both are. They're part of our outreach program, and so we do camps and clinics throughout. Maybe some of you had kids or grandkids that have been through them. If not, go online and find out where you can go to some of our D-backs camps. They're terrific. You know, they're week long, especially in the summer. You're looking for something for your kid or grandkid to do. They take great care of them. They teach them. They instruct them. They give them a nickname. It's been a lot of fun. Baseball, softball, both. But they come from that culture where they love working with the kids, and it's terrific. And they build those relationships too, which is very important for me. Not only should ushers have great relationships with their seat holders, but I think that, you know, people that are actually physically touching the fans, and in that case, throwing pitches to little kids, that relationship where they want to keep going back. I want to keep going back there. And little things that we do to try and get kids there. We have the No Chew Crew, where if they sign up and pledge that they're not going to use tobacco, in particular smokeless tobacco, they get free tickets to Sunday games, and we hope to get them out there for that reason. I think, yeah.
Two questions, David. One,
By the way, this is our token St. Louis Cardinals.
I could, yeah.
right there. To the Arizona Diamondbacks, the next greatest baseball team would be the St. Louis Cardinals. Or
I got to tell you. No, I got to tell you. The Cardinals are for years. I mean, for years. And you look at how long they've been in existence. They told me don't go past the rail, then I can't be seen on camera. So, but they are one of the most well-run organizations, and they have the best fans in all of baseball. I think in all of sports. They respect the game, they respect the visitors and everything. So I applaud you. I think you're crazy, but I applaud you.
Did you hear that, Mayor? Have you guys tracked any measurable outcomes that are a result of the culture you've instilled there, some of the programs, as far as employee retention,
Yeah.
revenue, profitability?
We have. I think as our revenues have increased, there's a direct correlation. We've had much greater retention with our season ticket holders, and those are programs that we do for the general public. If we showed all of the benefits and perks that we have for our season ticket holders, it's really FOTSI. And the fact that we'll let them do ticket exchanges, and we'll give them guarantees on the giveaways, and we'll help them with road trips and everything else, our retention is really high. We're up to, there were times where we were struggling to get 80% renewal, and now, even after a bad season, we're close to 90% renewal. So that's measurable. The fact that we've had an uptick in attendance, even when we had a few rough years the last couple of years, drawing over 2 million tells us that it's working. At least our pricing is, our value pricing, our approach with FOTSI. I have so many different companies and even like municipalities now that ask me about FOTSI, and can you tell us about FOTSI, and where'd you come up with the idea? And they're trying to incorporate it as well, which I think is great. Yeah, the measurables are there. It's difficult to measure exactly, but when we see an increase in revenues, we see an increase in attendance after poor years, it tells you that fans like the treatment. They really do. Yeah. Good.
Any other questions for Derrick?
Well, it's been an honor to be here, and we love Gilbert. We have so many fans and season ticket holders from here. It's a quick drive, as was evident this morning. We got here in about 15 minutes. But, okay, the chief's not here. Yeah. But, anyway, I thank you for having us. It's an honor to be here. So thank you, and I hope that we continue to play well for you this year and bring you a winner because you deserve it.
Thank you. Mayor, do you have anything?
Mayor?
I don't think I can top that. And Patrick, I think and I do understand Patrick said something about a logo, a St. Louis Cardinals logo as we walk into town hall. And I said, that's okay, because when we come in, we can stomp on like this. But and I just come back to a lot of what you talked about are organizational items that really make this team a family at the Diamondbacks at here. Last year we did revitalize a mission statement, a vision statement, our values. I think that's been very helpful. The team has grabbed that. We're running with it. A lot of good ideas here, and so we'll take the pitch and see if we can get a hit. And on behalf, again, of the town of Gilbert, this is an organization that we've learned a lot from. We want to continue to try and take some of the things you said today and incorporate it. And then some of the things that we'll do. Part of our vision is to be best in class. And you talked a lot about that today, and those are some things we can strive for. So thank you for the brainstorming and good ideas. And I'll just echo again on behalf of Town of Gilbert another big round of applause for President Hall. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mayor. You don't have to. You can blame me.
Thanks, everybody. Oh, I should introduce Josh Rawich as well. Josh